Hello, how are you two?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Thank you.
Good stuff. So I've been seeing some good stuff from you guys from the last week. It's nice to see you both smiley as well this week as well.
Just the weather.
It's the weather, yeah, the sun's out.
With the progress we've made the last few days.
Talk to me. What's
well,
changed?
So to start at the start of the story, I know I tried to explain on WhatsApp, but basically we watched this thing on Netflix about this guy in America who had some interesting methods of training dogs, and we suddenly thought maybe we should be putting them in a collar, because we remember when you talked about the different, I can't remember the term you used, but basically the way it feels to them when something's pulling on their neck versus on their chest. So we just thought it might be worth trying them in a collar. And the guy on the program was basically trying to get these people to use like a tight slip lead rather than just a collar anyway. So, but we just thought maybe we'll have different results with something around their neck rather than the harness, because we kind of felt like, as Rachel was starting to say as well, when she was trying to, particularly with Roland, trying to get him to do the impulse training, he was kind of responding to it better when she actually had her hand inside the front strap of the harness rather than just pulling the harness itself. And when we started to think about it, we kind of realized that actually when we are out and about with them in those, the level of freedom that they have in them is just kind of, because there's more power that they can generate by having it attached to their whole body, they can kind of take off quite easily in those. And we just felt like it wasn't even kind of having a tight lead on them, it wasn't really getting through to them. So we just from watching this program, we got the idea, and so we went the next day to the garden centre. We got 2 new collars, because we originally got the ones out that they wear to their boarding place. They weren't mental over those. We thought they probably would. So we went and got 2 new light soft collars, and it transformed them when we took them out in those. It was very strange.
It's like 2 different dogs. It was very weird. Like they just didn't pull on it at all. They did initially, and then as soon as they realised, oh, I can't do that, then it just complete change.
And now they're just it just feels like we've jumped quite a few steps forward in the kind of learning progression that we're expecting from them, and they've stuck with it as well. Like this morning, we both took them out, so we walked out of the house with them both together. The only thing is now that we've come on so far, we're kind of trying to push it even more a little bit, still within what we're supposed to be doing, hopefully. But so we've tried taking them out together now, whereas we used to just take them one at a time. So we've tried taking them out the door both at the same time, and then we kind of split off. One of us goes clockwise, one of us goes anti-clockwise around the loop of the park.
Okay.
They've been absolutely amazing around there.
Had all sorts of distractions, haven't we?
Yeah, because there's the little kids bit when we first go in. There's always kids in there making noise, playing like people on scooters, bikes,
skates, runners. Every man and his dog go there.
Yesterday morning, I think that was probably when there was yesterday morning or the day before. Anyway, we've been there so many times now that now they're getting really, really good at it and comfortable with pretty much everything they come across. There are still a few particular dogs or breeds of dog that are not so keen on, again, which
Labradors.
is black Labradors. And then they saw this other dog this morning that they haven't seen for a while. It's like a big brown cockapoo maybe, called Bentley. And we only know that because the owners were shouting his name when he ran out of their house straight at our 2 boys when we were just walking past a long time ago now. But Pluto like wet himself with the fear of it, because this dog just came running out, this enormous big fluffy thing. He didn't mean any harm, but so Pluto saw him this morning and started telling him off, which I think is fair enough given past experience. But then with all other dogs, they've been absolutely perfect. Like they've had dogs come at their face, which normally Pluto would. Not normally, but there's been occasions where he's bit the dog's nose because the dog has just come right in his face. He snapped at them a bit.
And when we're trying to do the training, get them to focus on us, and we know that there's dogs behind, there's little that we can do about that dog coming up to them.
Close.
So we kind
a lot of people let
them
them off the leads in there, so we don't really. There's no way of saying, "Can you keep your dog away" or whatever.
Well, but actually, when we have made it very clear with our body language and the fact that we are training the dog, people just, they tend to like to interrupt us and chat. Which is a little bit annoying. But Pluto's had dogs come in his face and he's been okay.
We had I can't remember if it was yesterday or the day before, there was like a sheepdog that was just completely loose, ran right in front of us and was like half a metre away from him, and he was absolutely fine. Like he didn't bark or anything. The only thing I noticed, actually, that the worst thing on that walk from his point of view in terms of his body language was there was a male runner who was just doing laps of the field in the opposite direction, and I was with Pluto, I was always using the crouching down, getting him in between my legs and getting him to focus on me like that. But I noticed particularly on one of the laps that he was actually shaking quite a lot as this runner was coming towards us, but he was still happy to sit there on the side of the path, and it's quite narrow as well, so this guy was pretty close to us, and he was still happy to sit there with me and take the treat like that when he was in between my legs, and he was really, really confident the rest of the time. He didn't have any problems with any other dogs that we came across. He saw all kinds of things, of chihuahuas running around off the lead, bigger dogs. There was another woman who kept on, she was jogging, her other sheepdog was running alongside with her, she was kicking a ball for it, and he wasn't at all fazed by any of these things. And they've just, I mean, Roland is, I feel like he's less fazed by everything anyway, but we haven't had Roland occasionally, I can't remember if we mentioned, he used to occasionally bark at kids and stuff if they came too close to him, or especially actually when they're on wheeled things. I think I remember telling you about that. Yeah. And I haven't noticed any of that with him at all. He seems to have completely got over that. And he's also just in between a few days ago and today, when I took him out this morning, I feel like he's got a lot better at staying close to my side when just on a loose lead, provided there's nothing else too interesting going on. But yeah, just his walking in general at a nice pace, really nice and close to me, and he's quite happy just to trot along there now, and is really seems to be clicking for him.
We've done the 3 thank yous. That's worked really well.
Yeah,
I've had to put Pluto in timeout about 2 or 3 times, but that's working. One thing we haven't done is the doorbell, just because we kind of just forgot, and we've been taking them out probably 2 or 3 times a day with the walking around the park. And we have done the treat, leaving on the floor and then saying okay. So they've got to the stage now when you don't even really need to hold them. You can just make them sit, put the treat down, and then they'll look at you. So yeah, we just need to do the doorbell.
Yeah, I think we were just so excited and overwhelmed by what happened when we put the colours on that we've been so happy with that we haven't really thought about addressing anything else at the moment, because that was, I mean, yeah, the stuff inside the house was a little bit annoying, but we kind of learned to live with it. But it was the main point, I think, that hopefully we got across to you when we started this, was that the walking and how stressful it is and how anxious we felt about taking them out and coming across other dogs and people. And they're like completely different dogs now.
Good. Honestly, when you sent me that message, I was like, oh my goodness me, what has happened here? And I was like, obviously I've not seen that programme, but I know that there are petitions to get it taken down and all the rest of it because of...
I didn't want you to, we thought when you replied, we suddenly thought that maybe you were thinking we picked up things from there that we were kind of adding into the training. I didn't want you to think that at all and think that we'd gone off piece with it. It was literally only the idea of wearing a collar, that was it.
Yeah, and when you put a collar, I was thinking, oh no, what kind of collar? What kind of collar have they put onto the dogs? That was the first thing that went through my head. And I read it back again, and I thought, you said you've gone to the garden centre, so there's not going to be too many varieties in there of alternative of either a buckle or a clip fastening. So then I was like, right, okay, it's fine, we can chat. But yeah, I think like with any of the programs that make it pretty big on the TV or onto Netflix, then I would always take them with a pinch of salt, because they're so heavily edited as well. But ultimately, you've got a result, which is a result that you were wanting to get anyway. So no, really, really well done for that. So in terms of their collars, so I know that they get really excited about the collars that they wear for the boarding, the daycare boarding. Are these completely different collars?
Yeah, so they're like, well, at the time, just because we thought it was a nice idea, they're like recycled plastic ones, so they're quite kind of are quite wide and
Yeah.
thin, if that makes sense. And they've
Yeah.
got, it's like a buckle with like belt holes, so it's
Yeah.
not infinitely adjustable. And also we've got metal tags on there that really make like a strong jingling noise.
And I guess
So,
it's the smell of it as well. Like they associate the smell with going to the boarding.
yeah.
Yeah.
The new ones we've got are kind of more, I don't know, more
That-
conventional fabric
yeah.
ones with the kind of it's like an unlimited adjustment, just with like you kind of just slide it up and down to adjust the size, and it's just
Yeah.
got a plastic clip on the end, and we don't have any tags on them.
So the reason that we got those ones was obviously because we watched the program, and I just suggested at the time maybe we should get a different collar tomorrow and see if it works, and if they pull, scrap it. And ages ago, like so 2 years ago, when we got Roland from the breeder, he was about 5 months, and because he was so small, she gave us. We didn't have a lead or anything for him, and a collar, so she gave us a cat collar that she had because it's just what they use for puppies.
Yeah.
I put that on him, and I put the lead on it, and he didn't pull. He wasn't excited. He wasn't scared about it, but he wasn't overly excited like he is with the other collar that we put
Yeah.
breeding. So I thought, let's just try it.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of similar sort of size and see how it goes. And they're happy to put them on, aren't they?
Yeah, and they're not. So that's the other thing. They're not. They don't have the same level of excitement about putting the new colours on as they do with the harnesses, let alone the other colours. They're just quite happy to. They'll just sit there. Roland will jump up and have a little sniff when you first get them out, as he usually does. But they're quite happy to just sit there and have them put on them. Whereas with the harnesses, sometimes it's a bit of a struggle to even get them to come over and put them on, because either they're trying to put them in the mouths, or they're jumping on each other, or then when you actually try and get it onto them, they run off or whatever, and like to be a bit mischievous with them some of the time. So and it's just like, I don't know, they kind of accept that it goes with training time, and let's do it.
And actually, Pluto used to have his tail tucked under, and he used to go really low when you put the harness on him, and now he just lets you put the collar on. It's honestly, it's like different pair of dogs, and they're so calm inside. Not that they were wild, but they're just knackered.
Yeah.
They do seem to have got quite a bit calmer in other aspects as well. They still do all their usual stuff and still chase each other around. But yeah, they seem just a lot more content now that we're giving them significantly more exercise than we have for quite a long time. Yeah. And they're also, I feel like, getting a good mental workout from having to focus on us and do the things we're asking of them.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're just the reason why they're in harnesses in the first place was because we kind of thought, before we got Roland, we thought, we've seen dogs where they're dragging them by their neck, and obviously that's not nice for the dog, and particularly with their spines. We just thought, well, it's much nicer to put them in a harness from a kind of their health perspective. And then obviously we were used to letting Roland be on an extendable lead and kind of go off where he wanted. So that was working well. But then with this whole epiphany, I suppose you could call it, that we had after watching this program, we sort of thought, well, actually, the reason why we'd have a harness is if they were pulling on the lead, but the whole point of this training is to have them walking on a loose lead next to us. So really, what a difference does it make? And so the argument for having a harness in the first place was completely gone. So, and then it happened to work out for them.
No, it's really, really good. And the videos that you sent over are like, I mean, you can still see that Roland's a little bit, he's kind of a little bit anxious with his whole demeanor. He's kind of like, there's loads going off. But actually, he's still listening to you. He's still focusing on what is going off. He has a little bit of I'm going to have a look this way and that way. But actually, overall, huge improvement from last time.
Even from those, he's actually doing a lot better yesterday and today as well. So we were so excited to send you stuff. We didn't want to wait until we had like a perfect video to send you, but just the difference. But it's actually, today with me, he was near on perfect. He was walking so nicely next to me for most of the way around. And it's only like if there's, sometimes he'd still, like he used to do before, he'd rather sit down and wait for another dog to come a bit closer while he kind of assesses it. And I don't want to kind of drag him towards it if he's just saying, hang on a minute, just give me a moment to check it out. But he doesn't, whereas he used to wait for them to go past him sometimes and then like lunge at it from behind. He doesn't really do that anymore. He'll just stay by my side. So he's that's the only time where he won't have complete compliance with carrying on walking like we might like him to. But I'm happy enough if that's how he wants to interact at the moment, and just sit there and take a moment to figure it out, then that's absolutely fine.
The biggest change is Pluto, just everything. He actually wants to go outside. You put a collar on the lead and he's happy to trot to the front door of the Wembley Toe. He's never done that before. And he's just really confident and he's relaxed and he just always looks up at you.
Yeah. Honestly, it's like it completely pulls apart from last time when I spoke to you. The first like 10-15 minutes of last time were like down here, and this time we're like up here. No, absolutely, like literally fantastic, like transformation wise. And like realistically, it's about the association that they've made. So they've made associations with the collars that go to daycare, the boarders, daycare, the other people that look after them. They've made that association that when those collars come out, they're like, oh yeah, this is exciting, because they know exactly where it is that they're going. So it might be the visual, it might be the smell of them, it could just be the fact that they make a different sound or they're kept in a different place that they know where they are. And with the harnesses, it may well be that the harnesses have been on them, and if you think about like when a harness is tight, so just go back a few videos, and they had the Equifleece on, the harness on top of it, and that's why I said, do they wear they normally wear the Equifleece, because round their chest and armpits, they've got quite a lot of sensitive spots, so they're like touch spots. So if we have got pressure on those all the time, and if they feel kind of anxiety, or if they feel a little bit worried and they start breathing fast, they're not going to be able to get that full breath because they've got something there. So they're already kind of up here already. They're up here already. So to bring them down and then start again, but no, absolutely fine. You know, you've got them on the harness, you've got them on the collars, and ultimately, like you say, Tom, it's about the walking on the loose lead. It's not about having that tension on the lead. So yeah, you're absolutely right in what you're saying. If they're on the loose lead and the collar, and that's why I always say it makes no difference whether you're on a collar or a harness, because it's about actually the technique of walking that we're trying to achieve, not what equipment have got or haven't got. And you know, you've obviously changed your equipment, which is fine, and they've got a different association with that. So with the harnesses, it may be that they're like, oh no, we've got to go back out in that place again, and it's really scary and I can't breathe when I'm outside. And then if they're in the collars, they're like, oh yeah, that's fine, because they start with no association, and now what you're doing is you're building that positive stuff. So they're out there, they're looking at you, they're seeing things around them, they're not getting into the frenzied state that they were before. And now you're actually, A, you're able to feel a lot more in control of what's happening, but B, they will be feeding off that from you as well, because you'll be like, hey, yeah, this is okay, I feel really super confident with you, come on, let's go. And you're just giving them the expectation, you're showing them what's expected of them, and the boundaries are already there because you've been practicing with them. But yeah, no, really like, I'm like super pleased for you, super happy that you're at this stage. So for us, it just means that we can only go one way, and that's continuing to go up. Please be mindful that it isn't that linear like I spoke about last time, so it may drop at some point, but it's about that controlling what's going off. So like you say with Roland, he'll have a little he's unable to focus for a little bit of the time, and that's fine. So don't expect 100% every time you go out on a walk. So sometimes there is going to be that build-up element of they've seen a few things and then they might have a little bark, or it may be that you get like 1 or 2 barks rather than like a whole crazy set of barks. How have they both been when you've been with them together? How have they both been in that circumstance?
So we did that today. We walked halfway around the park today.
Oh, yeah, we did.
And then they tend to want to run forward and pull a bit more on the lead. So, I mean, you can get their focus, but it's not.
They kind of egg each other on a little bit, I think, when they're both together.
So they'll walk, but they'll walk like at the end of the lead. They're pulling-ish.
So they're just at the end of the lead.
That was one of the things that we did want to ask, because obviously, I mean, if we have to walk them separately, we will, but it's not going to be realistic for the future. Really.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But actually, you took them out.
Yeah,
together.
So yesterday I took them. I took both leads with both of them, obviously. Rachel was having to lie down, so I wanted to go and take them for a little evening walk because it was such a nice day here, and the park's normally a bit quieter, like 4:30, 5, and we went. So I was going to take them individually, But especially Pluto, if he's here by himself, he'll start crying at the door. And Rach was trying to have a nap, so I just decided I was going to try and take both of them. So I just tied the ends of the leads together so I had something to hold on to and wasn't going to lose any of them. And then we went and did basically a whole lap of the field and then a bit of street on the way home.
It's quite a big field as well.
It's a good, I don't know, probably close to 10 minutes to get around it, going at a fair pace. But they were really, really good, both of them together. They were kind of, as we saw this morning, they kind of do pull a little bit more, I think, when they're together. Particularly, I noticed Pluto was usually the one that was more at the end of the lead, and actually Roland was kind of happier just to kind of sit in with my walking pace. But they did both. I was still using the cues, and again, obviously, I wasn't quite sure what I should be doing when there were two of them there, so I kind of just doubled everything. And when I asked for the watch cue, they would, whoever gave it first would get a treat first, and then pretty much always the other one would be sat there looking up once I'd finished giving the treat to the first one. So they both did pretty well, given that we've never done that before since we've started training them, and they were both on quite relatively short fixed lead, and they both kind of had to watch out for each other as well as where I was going. And then when we came back as well, I stopped outside, just at the end of our road, chatting to one of our neighbours who was cleaning his driveway or something, and we don't like him much, and they don't either. But no, we do like him. But they normally do bark at him when they see him, or they have done in the past. And they both sat there. We were probably, I don't know, 3-4 meters away, and they were both quite happily just sat there. They weren't straining on the leads to go anywhere, even though they could see where our house was, and normally they'd try and leg it for the front door whenever we get near. And they haven't been like that at all. And I chatted to him for probably 5 minutes, and
Pluto kept looking up, didn't he?
Pluto kept on looking up. A slight bit of squeaking because he kind of either wanted something to eat or to get moving.
Mm-hmm.
So I gave him plenty of treats while we were sat there, and every time they gave me the eye contact. But they were quite happy for me just to stand there chatting away to him. And actually, do you want to tell her about when you were with Lois and Adam and Rocky?
Oh yeah, so we've got some friends that live nearby, and they've got a Chihuahua which they have always got on with. And I was training Pluto on my own. Tom's on the other side of the park. They came towards me, and I just said, like, oh, I'm training, and I was okay to talk to them because Pluto was fine. And what am I getting at with that?
They ended up while me and Roland finished our lap. They were there the whole time.
Yeah.
And he had just been fine to stand there chatting with them for like 5 minutes. And then I joined with Roland as well, and he was exactly the same. And in the past, they would have got, particularly Pluto, would have got a bit frustrated at having to stand still for so long. And he starts pulling on the lead to go in different directions. He starts squeaking to kind of get moving somewhere. But he's just way more chilled out about just stopping in one place and having us interact with other people. And also they weren't massively fussed on playing with Rocky, even though they have done in the past and they get on quite well. They kind of just left them to it. They're always much happier actually to see each other now. Like when we cross over doing our loops, they're always a lot happier to see each other than any other dog, even if it's a friend of theirs. And yeah, it was nice just to be able to stand there, even with both of them, and not feel like either they needed to immediately get going because they were making a fuss, or they were barking at someone, which is a bit embarrassing when you're trying to talk to them. And yeah, they were just really nice and chilled out for me, which was really good.
There was one thing that I know we'd spoken about Pluto doing a mess every single night, and we wake up to it. He still does it. Last week there was 3 days in a row where he didn't do it, and we thought, oh, we've cracked it. But even
we hadn't done anything different.
No, we're not doing anything different. But Tom took them both out yesterday together, and Pluto did a really big one. So we thought he's not going to do one before bed because he's had like an evening walk. So it's a bit brighter now. That
was the first time he's done some business out on a walk since we started training, because it's been exclusively in the garden. And I thought it was like 4:45 maybe. He did an enormous number 2 in the park, which was great. And I thought, well, there's no way that he's got anything left after that because he'd eaten at like 3. So I thought that had been loads of time. And then we still woke up to a bit of mess this morning.
So still waking up to it.
Okay.
I don't know what it is, to be honest.
we've tried. So we've moved. Well, we've brought dinner forward by about an hour now. So we used to feed them about 4, which used to be quite early as well. Because Roland back in the day used to have his dinner at like 6:37, and he was absolutely fine. We moved it forward to 4 o'clock, and still, like, probably I'd say 8 or 9 times out of 10 we'll wake up with a mess. But we're kind of just so used to it now. It doesn't particularly smell with the food that he's eating, or like it doesn't smell that unpleasant. So it's kind of just one of those things. I'm normally first up in the morning by 10 minutes or so. So by the time Rich comes down to have breakfast with us, it's cleaned up and.
but we're using the enzyme, enzymatic cleaner. So we're cleaning it with the proper stuff. And we're trying our best to get the smell off, but I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just he wakes up because of Roland shuffling and then he just does it, or
it's not always it's not always in the same place either. He kind of does it. Sometimes he does it on this side of the room, sometimes he goes and does it by the dining table. So it's a real spread of locations. So we're pretty sure that it's not that he can smell his old ones. But it's just very occasionally when we're watching TV in the evening, he'll just get himself up and decide that he needs to go. But otherwise, he won't do it. You can take him back out to the grass 20 times before we go to bed, even if it's not raining or anything. He'll just come straight back.
Yeah. Okay. And when they do go to the toilet, I'm not sure if I've asked you this before. Do they have a word that you use to tell them to go to the toilet?
So we were doing that from day one with Pluto as part of his toilet training. We didn't really need to do that with Roland, but we did anyway. So he still knows the cues. We just say wee wee and poo poo when they do it. But and we still use that today, even though
sounds like me.
I open the window sometimes to finds it hilarious.
Because the neighbours think we're nuts.
Well, but yeah, he just there's no prompting him. When he decides that
when he needs to go.
I was going to say, sorry, we went through a few days of waking Pluto up earlier in the evening to take him out to do it.
Yeah, before
even that made no change. So.
Yeah, it's very strange when it comes to that, and it's not like it's only like a little bit. So yesterday, not to go into too much detail, but
it's fine. Honestly, it's fine.
There was a lot that came out like it was a really
that big, or
it was a really good size, and then the ones that he does normally when he's here, even in the garden, are never normally that big. It's kind of like he does some, but it's like he leaves more in the tank. And usually when he's out on a walk, we used to kind of associate it more with nervousness, that he would say he's doing a nervous poo because he's done he's emptied the tank with everything. It's sometimes a little bit more loose, or it has been. So I thought there's no way he can have anything left after that. And obviously he didn't, besides from a handful more little bits of schmacko as we were going around, he didn't eat anything else, obviously. So it's a bit of a funny one, but
what we have to remember is that like each dog is very individual, like each human is individual. Now I'm not obviously going to ask you about your toileting habits, but I'm quite sure that you will have different toileting habits to one another, and it's the same with our dogs. So if I was to tell you that sometimes Chip goes to the toilet 5 times in a day to have a number 2, then you might be like 5 times in a day, but then other days she might just go once or twice, and some days she might just go once. But there will be some kind of pattern along the way, but whether it's like yesterday has obviously been for a huge toileting episode, but then it may be that the rest just isn't like processed. And what I would say is that if they shouldn't necessarily be having huge poos, because that would say that the food that they're eating isn't being absorbed into them. So if you think about like when they've eaten their food, the nutrients will be absorbed into their body, leaving a little bit of waste product. Now, if they're eating stuff so use your smackos, because we all know that smackos aren't exactly the greatest, but it's fine. It's not, it's not the end of the world. But if for example, he was just fed a diet of smackos, then you're likely to find that he'll either have bigger poos, or they'll be a bit sloppier, or they won't be as nice and like small or fresh. So it's just to consider like that there are going to be differences between the dogs, so try not to compare too much. That it may just be that he just goes to the toilet a lot more than Roland does. But in terms of the actual messing in the house, so bedtime, where do they actually sleep? Is it in a bed?
They're sleeping with their beds just in the corner of the kitchen, the room that we're always in them when we're on the call with you. They just sleep in the corner there, and as far as we know, they don't. We have put a camera on. Sometimes when I'm out of work overnight, Rachel will leave the camera on so I can keep an eye on them. But they don't really move around much at night. Like they certainly, we've never woken up and found that they've gone to sleep in a different corner. But
they do have free reign of downstairs, and there's not much we can do about that unless we bought, cage type things, which I don't really want to do.
We did discuss that actually, didn't we? But
to make,
never went
yeah, because we don't. This is the biggest room.
But we'd probably. So their bed is just there, and and then they have kind of free reign of all this bit and the bit.
So they sleep here.
Mm-hmm.
They've got all that kitchen bit, and then they've got all there as well, and then all of that. So they've got a large area that could section off, but I don't know if that would help.
I mean, yeah, I kind of have a couple of options. So with dogs, they do tend to like to be kind of enclosed. Now, I'm not saying necessarily a crate, but it may be that you consider, I don't know if you've got anywhere in there that they could kind of like fit underneath something, or just something like, I know it sounds a bit random, but like a cardboard box upside down with the, like, it doesn't have to be like, if I'm ever doing crate training, then I generally say have the crate door open anyway, so it's not used as a crate where you're shutting them inside, but just to have that enclosed feeling around them may just be enough, because it may be that he's waking up. In fact, let me just go back a second. Do you think he's going to the toilet before he's been to sleep, or when he's woken up?
It varies.
I think it's middle of the night.
I've checked the CCTV, the camera. Honestly, it can be an hour after we've gone to bed. It could be 3 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, or literally 10 minutes before we come downstairs. It's so varied.
I get the feeling that it's mostly kind of between the hours of midnight and 3 or 4 maybe, because I get up for work I come down and see them at 5:10 when I'm getting up for an early shift, and there'll still be one at that time. So I'll get the feeling that, because it's 9 times out of 10 when I come down and clean it up in the morning, it's dry and it doesn't smell anymore. So I get the feeling that it's been there quite a while.
We have got a crate, so we could, because we used to have Roland not in a crate trained, but we used to just put his bed in the crate, and he used to stay in there when I was at work.
I think I would be inclined to try that. So, I mean, it may mean that you get woken up if he needs to go out to the toilet, and that's kind of the alternate, really. That if he's in a crate, he may then shout for you to say, I need to go to the loo, come and let me out. And then we're chancing that we're going to be going into the realms of, if he then barks when he's in his crate, is he going to think that we're just going to come down to him? If you know what I mean.
You mean for us to have them in the crate and shut the door?
Mm.
I don't think that would go down very well. We did try that once or twice with Roland, and he wasn't happy as soon as the door closed.
Okay.
We could.
Well, I'm not going to put pressure on. Have you got a cover that goes over your crate?
Yeah, we did.
That was the other thing. He started eating that. That's why I don't think he'd do that now. We're willing to try things, because obviously it's been going on a long time now, and there doesn't seem to be.
We get the concept
much
of
that we could do.
The crate, because the idea is they don't mess in their bed.
Yeah, and also because it's enclosed, so like historically, obviously they lived in dens and they lived underneath things, and that, with Dachshunds they do like to kind of snuggle into stuff as well. So it's okay just being snuggled in, but then if they have that free reign of just getting up and going, oh, actually I just need to go to the toilet now, and then getting up and wandering off. So it may be that you have the crate, and when I say shut the door, I don't mean like click it across, but just close it so it's shut. But it's not like they can literally just push it and get out. So it gives you a bit of an opportunity as well, that if you do start hearing that door going, at least you know that somebody's got out of bed.
Right.
Rather than have.
If we have the crate there in the day, and they go to sleep in it during the day because they nap, you suggest that in the day that we just shut the door so that they.
Yeah, you can just push the door too. So think about your normal door. So you would just push your door too, so it's not quite connecting, but they can still get out if they want to.
Is the crate big enough for that?
I don't know. I was just looking.
They've they've got a massive, like it's a large dog bed because they both sleep in it and they toss and turn. So we've got them a bigger bed because they keep
Wriggling.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll fit. We'll figure it out, but we could give it a go.
But do you think? I mean, I know you're saying about having something over the top of them. They do like to bury themselves with the blankets, but then obviously at some point they still wake up. But would because I know you can get kind of like like something that you put
Like a
around
teepee.
a kind of
Well, it's like a
what's the word? Just like kind of metal, like cage pieces that you can kind of arrange in whatever shape you want. Like you might
to block them off, basically.
Basically just to, and we could potentially put that around their bed. But do you think an actual crate would start to be better than that?
So the kind of stuff that you're describing there is like the playpen type stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah.
It may be that they're a little bit too old for that kind of thing, because it doesn't take much to just push it and then it falls over, or they could just jump or climb. It's not going to take too much to move those out of the way. And because they use their noses and they can scoot them across the floor as well, I would look at more of a kind of a crate type.
We could just get a bigger one that bed will fit in.
I mean, it may be that you just like practice to start with. I mean, if they got like a different type, if they got a different bed already, so they've got the big bed, have they got a smaller bed as well or not?
No, they're all destroyed.
Okay.
Because we have to get these ones. They're like a bit harder wearing because otherwise they destroy them and get the stuffing out. And
Okay.
Don't want to or anything.
So the reason I would be looking at the crate is if you were crate training and say if they were rescue dogs, or they were older dogs that were coming into your house, then we would look at crate training to give them a really safe space, but also to only give them limited access so that you're able to hear when they're moving around, rather than the crate doors open and they're just having free reign of the room that they're in, because it is a relatively big room as well. So it may be that he's getting up and going, oh yeah, I just need the toilet, but that he hasn't got a way to let you know that he needs the toilet either, has he?
Not in the night. No.
He does. He used to scratch at the door, and actually he kind of waits a bit more patiently now in the daytime. But he does, if we take too long, he'll make a bit of a noise.
But in the night, you can actually see him. He doesn't go to the side door. He just goes to the area and does it.
Just goes and does it. Is there anything on your back, at the back of your house, that could be disturbing them, or anything, any security lights or anything like that?
I don't think so, no.
No, we don't have the security light on. We turn it off before we go to bed.
I'm thinking of other people's that might be waking him.
No.
It's unlikely. Our neighbours have theirs and they have cats, but their cats sleep in the garage at night, so I don't think... Possibly, very occasionally it gets tripped on, but I doubt it's waking them up every night. I'd be surprised. Yeah. But actually, the one thing I was going to mention, we asked...
The camera, sorry, when you just mentioned that, I've just thought, Pluto, we think he's very intelligent, obviously we know they're intelligent, but we've got like a TV with CCTV cameras on it, and when we're sitting eating our dinner, he looks up at that. He
looks from their bed. He's watching what's going on the cameras.
So I don't know if it's worth turning the contrast or just turning it off when we go to bed, because we'll shut the blinds in there. We don't shut the curtains here, but we could.
That might be a good option.
Yeah, I never thought about it, because obviously everything is infrared, so he can see it, and it is quite bright in the dark. We could try that, switching the screen on.
Sometimes it can be things like boilers kicking in, and like really, I know it sounds like really common sense stuff, but sometimes it just takes that little bit of unpicking. Like sometimes it could be a boiler, like if dogs are being kept in the kitchen and there's a boiler in the kitchen and that clicks on or clicks off at a particular time throughout the day or night, then that can obviously disturb. And that's why I asked about the outside lights, because if there's a light coming in that just pings on, I know one of our neighbours, they've got a particularly bright light, and if that comes on, then we can, it makes us kind of jump. So just things to consider.
I know I can hear the thermostat light clicking on, because we set it so that it keeps them warm enough, because their bed's next to the radiator and they like to be warm at night.
But it is cold down here without that.
It does get cold, but that definitely makes quite a loud click, and that obviously intermittently is coming on and off all through the night. So possibly that could be something to look at. But then,
and that could account for the no pattern there, because if it's clicking on with the temperature of the outside, then it could be that that's making the difference there.
And we'd worry about them getting freezing cold overnight.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
We could try it for one night and see. They've got plenty of blankets and they keep each other warm, obviously. So that might be something to try as well, because that is quite loud. I can definitely hear it when I'm not fast asleep, so I'm sure Pluto probably can as well. But so I was just going to say, when we asked the woman who takes him for boarding if he has any accidents when he's with her, and she said she's never had one with him, but she did say that she puts him to bed at, I think
12.
Yeah, like they last go out at midnight or like 11:30 or something, and she's up again at 6. So obviously the time span is just shorter. But I do wonder if we were up a bit later, if we just had another hour.
I don't want to get up. I don't want to stay up late.
No. Well, that's the problem. It doesn't really suit our routine at the moment. But I do wonder if we just stayed up another hour or so, if he would just end up taking himself off if we were just in the same position watching TV. But then again, we have stayed up a bit later on some nights when we're finishing our dog documentary or whatever, and it still doesn't seem to. There doesn't really seem to be much rhyme or reason to it. So
we can look. We'll look into the crate. I think it's a good
we'll look into the crate and maybe turning the thermostat off as well and seeing if those do.
Yeah, try one at a time, so you know what it is that's working. So I mean, go for your thermostat if you can. I mean, I don't know how warm it is where you are. It's relatively warm here.
Frozen north here, so.
It's what? Sorry.
We're in the frozen north.
Whereabouts north are you?
Well, we're in Wilmslow, just about 15 miles from Manchester, so south of Manchester.
Okay, yeah, okay. I'm really in the Midlands myself. I'm only in Nottingham myself, so okay. So, yeah, I mean, it is a bit of a trial and error, and there's no hard fast rules. It may just be that he's just never learned to hold it overnight. Maybe that because it is a bit different to holding the wee overnight. Holding a poo overnight is different for them.
He doesn't wee in the night. It's just poo.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It may just be that he's not learned, or that he's just storing it. And because he's gone out on a walk as well, I mean, that says that he's relaxed enough to go to the toilet out on a walk as well. So that says that he's super calm. He's super like, yeah, this is fine. I need to go to the toilet. Or it may just be that he actually can't hold it any longer if it was that big and he needed to get rid. But ultimately, if he normally has kind of like nervous poos, and that was like a fully formed and it was there, then that's a really good and positive sign, even though obviously the overnight stuff is a little bit hit and miss. But I would have a look at those. I'd start with just those two things before you then start changing loads of things, otherwise you're not going to quite know what it is. And when you do add the crate in, then look to cover it over. So if they eat stuff like fleecy stuff and you've covered it with a fleece blanket, then look to cover it with something else. It might just be a towel or something similar, that they're not going to be like, I think that the towel material seems to be a bit different for them to actually chew on, rather than like a nice fleece. So just either a boring towel or a boring sheet, like a bed sheet, just to cover over. And that should give you a little bit of an idea, and then at least you can see if there's any progress being made or not. And just that, if you can, then just record it, as in just like keep a little note somewhere of what you've changed. And if there's, I mean, you're going to have to do it over a period of time, because it's not going to be necessarily a thing that's going to happen or change overnight. And then obviously we've got light mornings coming back in as well. So as soon as the day breaks and all the birds are tweeting and everything else, and they're likely to wake up at that point as well. So taking into consideration the external stuff of the house as well. Okay, should we get some training done? Because we've sat and we spoke for a long time today. It's because it's all good and all exciting and all positive for you guys. Okay, so I had a few things I'd written down to go through today. One of them was around the front door, which obviously you've mentioned that you hadn't done any of that, but that's fine. The 3 thank yous. So I know you thought I was pretty crazy last time, but you said that that's been working for you. Yeah, so you've had a bit of time out, but then generally they're quite good with that. Yeah, good stuff. So that's one for you to continue. That's just something to continue every opportunity you get to do it. What you may even find is that they'll go from sitting, I can't remember which one it was sitting on the chair arm, the Pluto. that they'll now start getting off there. So as soon as you're saying thank you, they'll start getting down off the chair arm, just sitting into the seat.
Actually, on that note, he has been sitting there. I know that we weren't supposed to be letting him, but he doesn't bark.
Yeah, he's definitely got better at the number of reactions he has to things when he is there.
Yeah, yeah. And this is what we're looking at. This, like, the whole bigger picture is that if we can calm our dogs down in the house, then the chances are they're going to be a lot calmer when they're outside as well. Because if they're just sitting, I mean, obviously the increased exercise is going to have helped massively as well, but we needed to give them time to actually come down, if their stress levels to actually come down to their normal. So you've actually now working with them and getting through to them. So with the 3 thank yous, continue doing that one. With the treats for the front door, so obviously we mentioned about the front door last time when the doorbell goes, and we spoke about getting a treat out of the cupboard. So as soon as you're aware that there's anybody that's likely to be going to the front door, quickly go into the kitchen, here you go, what's this, and throw it on the floor. So we can play a game with what's called what's this. Really, really nice and simple. So you can just literally have a few treats in your hand. What's this? Get them excited, show the treat in front of them, and throw the treat across the floor. So when you then start saying what's this, they associate it with the room that you want them to be in. So the kitchen area, the area where that cupboard is, where the treats are being kept, and have access to some of those treats. So have access, even if they're just in a pot nearby. If you're coming out of, I don't know whereabouts you normally sit, but wherever you're normally sitting, so that you can just grab hold of it and go into the kitchen with it. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's, go on.
I was just going to say, we've tried that twice. When we've been in the kitchen, the door shut, got the treats. Pluto, falls for it. Roland very much wants to get out.
He's a bit more wise to it. So he kind of, to him, getting whatever's at the door is more important than any kind of food-based distraction.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I know that obviously with time, the association with the queue, he should be able to calm himself down a bit and come away from the door. But at the moment, it's quite intense.
Okay. So when you say you've practiced it twice, has that been with someone knocking at the door or somebody that's actually at the door?
Yeah. Because we've not practiced it ourselves. Yeah. Okay. So that may. He's not that exposure. I think. Yeah. Like, this is silly. He needs to come down now. I know, but they need to do their training in a minute. We're not getting.
So what I would say is literally just have some treats. So you can practice it now if you want to, literally like 2 or 3 treats each, and just say, what's this? Get them excited, and then throw the treats. So throw the treats, like, I mean, I didn't realize you had all that area with your table there as well, throw them right down there so they have to go and get them, and then just stand there. So when they've eaten them, they'll then come back to you and then do the same again. What's this? Get them excited and throw the treats again. And what you're doing there is you're just literally playing a game with them, but then you're soon going to start moving out of that room. So then when they go to get the treats, you open do you call that your kitchen? The kitchen door? Yeah. So you open your kitchen door and then you go through it and then you'll come back again. So they can still see you. You've not gone anywhere and you're just playing a game with them. Okay. So if you see it as you're playing a game and you're just teaching them how to play it, so they're ultimately going to end up getting treats when you go to the door, and you can then come back with that kitchen door is going to be shut, but to start with, you're going to have it open and you're just going to be literally going out of it and coming back in.
Okay. So are we saying what's this when we're near the front door? Or
no, I would do it in the kitchen. So the game's going to start with you having treats in your hand, saying what's this? So that's the excitement part, and you're going to throw the treats out for them, let them go and get them, and let them just come back to you. To start with, you're just going to stand there. Second time, you're going to throw the treats out, because if Roland's already a bit clued up to it, then you're going to have to build his trust first that you're not going anywhere, and you're certainly not going to that front door. So you're just tricking him, really, but you're letting him think that he knows what's happening. So we'll practice that. We'll just practice that for a couple of minutes, and then we'll get another technique with settle, so to get them to settle to a place as well.
okay.
And it's about us having fun with it as well. So this is, you know, I'm going to be doing quite a lot of the games-based stuff with you guys now, so that you can start having a lot of fun with them. So here, they're back, look.
There's loads over there. Their noses aren't that good. Good boy.
And what we're doing is we're looking for them to be distracted by us throwing them something.
Do we say it once?
Yeah, so it's a game. So you're letting them know that it's a game that they're playing. So the game's called What's This? And then they're going to get something really good to do. So the next time that you throw your treats out, I want you to just edge towards that door. So to be fair, if you were walking out of that door now, I don't think either of them would even be batting an eyelid.
No, they actually, whenever the door is open, because we normally keep the door shut, and if we call them, they come back straight away. They didn't ever used to do that. They used to scramble and run off with us.
So you want me to walk out of the door?
Yes. Yeah, so I want you to say, what's this? Throw the treats, then go out and then come back in again.
So I have the door open to start with.
Yeah.
What's this? Yeah, Tom's in the corridors.
And that's that association that we're trying to make there, so that they do something while you're out of the room and then you come back in. So they did both notice that he'd gone out, but they also finished their treats at the same time. So here they go again.
What's this?
And then go again. And then come back in.
Good boy.
So funny.
Nice, easy game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, I don't want to fill them up on treats straight away, but I just would like to give you the literally the base layer of that. So literally, you're playing What's This? So what's this? So with Chip, I would say find it, but it's just because she picks up on scent as well, so that's fine. But what's this? So you can even get right down close to them and say, what's this? What is it? What's this? And then throw the treats out. So they're like, oh my goodness me, this is super exciting. So they're doing something. And while they're doing, it gives you opportunity to go and do something as well. So the next level of that is literally going out the door, closing the door, opening it and coming straight back in. So you're literally just opening and closing the door. So the sound is likely to be the association that they've got. That when somebody obviously knocks on the door, or there's a visual, or your doorbell goes, then that's when they're starting to get like, Whoa. So what you can do in that circumstance is, if they start barking and going crazy, just go into the kitchen really nice and calmly with them. What's this? And then throw the treats out. So you divert them from what they are barking at to what you want them to be getting excited over. Okay. So are you happy with that one? Are you happy to continue practicing that one? I don't think there's too much, there's not really an awful lot to it, but to build up, you can build it quite nicely with that one. The second one I wanted to look at with you is settle into a place. Now, do they do this already? Do they settle to a mat or a bed or anything already?
We don't ask them to, but they just go to their bed all the time.
Okay.
I mean, it's all laminate flooring here, so they just go into their comfy bed.
Okay. So what about if you went out for a meal?
Yeah, they just stay there.
As in with the dogs?
Oh, with the dogs. Well, Roland was good.
We don't know really is the answer.
Well, basically, we got Pluto at the beginning of lockdown last year, so we've never taken him out.
Okay.
He doesn't. Before that, Roland didn't have a cue to settle. He just did. He was just.
But he'd either be on the floor or on one of our laps or on a
sat
chair
behind.
next to us.
Yeah. Okay, so let's teach them to settle to a place. So all we need is just have you got like a small blanket or a towel or something similar that they can just relax onto, and I'll show you how to do it.
What about the mat?
You can always change it afterwards. It doesn't have to be, it's not fixed to be in this thing. You can change it afterwards. Just keep it in your hand for a second. So what is that? Is that a food mat?
It's just a doormat.
Okay, so what we're going to do is have some treats in one hand and have your mat in the other hand. And then every time that they either look or pay any attention to that mat while it's in your hand, then you're just going to say yes and reward them. Okay, so tiny treats. It might be that you just need to move it around a little bit so they see it. It might be that you take a dog each. Might be, it would definitely be easy with one dog.
Yeah. With the exception, they go nuts on carrots, and then a collar worked.
Yeah, and I'm still baffled with the carrots, but hey ho. I even spoke to my nutritionalist that we work with, and she was like, "Oh, I've never heard that," and I was like, "No, me either," but it is.
So am I to hold it as well?
Yeah, so what I would say is if we can just have one dog working at once, or if you've got two mats, then we can work both at the same time, that's fine. Because otherwise we're going to have one that's going really fast and one that's going really slow.
I'll just get running for a minute.
Okay. Okay, so the reason that we're using the yes is a marking word. So you're just marking to say you've done the right thing. That's exactly what I want you to do. And if you notice, we're not using watch, even though he's actually giving the eye contact to the mat. It's because we're just marking what he's doing. So we're letting him know he's done the right thing. And then we're going to do one more with him. And what I want you to do, Tom, is I want you to put the mat on the floor, and any interaction that Pluto makes with it. So if he sniffs it, if he touches it with his feet, you're just going to say yes, and then drop a reward onto the mat. Okay, so it's important that they come from the treats. The treats come from the mat and not your hand this time. He's on it straight away. So let him just figure out what he needs to do. He's probably going to stare at you, might spin round. So we're not really going to accept anything less than him sitting on the mat. There we go. And the reason that we're nice. So just stand there for me. And what we're going to do is when he breaks contact with you, that's when you're going to drop a treat down to him. So when he sniffs the mat, looks away from you, is he sneezing?
Yeah, that's what he
I think he's excited, isn't he?
That's what he does.
Wait till he looks away from you. It might be that he just sniffs the mat. It might be that he just breaks eye contact. You're going to say yes and then reward him. Until we get a little bit of consistency with him breaking that contact from you. Are you looking at him, Tom?
Yeah.
Just look away from him, as in, like, just move your eyes so you're not directly looking at him. It will just help him realise that you're not after the eye contact. Just going to do that until we've got a little bit more consistency with him. So if you think that you were like eating your dinner or something in a restaurant and you're not going to be looking at him, you're not going to be paying him attention, he's just going to be sitting there. So we're going to do one more with him when he stops looking at you. Look at his tail go in. He's like, I like this game, Dad. This is a great game to play. Do they know wait? If you ask him to wait, do they know wait or stay?
I know.
Oh, I've got them both on there now. Reward them, doing what you want them to do. This is where it's hard with two dogs on one mat because we ideally want those treats dropping onto the mat. Sorry, did you say that they do know wait or stay?
Yeah, I can get them to wait and then I can take steps back and they will stay there.
Brilliant. Okay, so with we'll carry on with Pluto for a sec. So with Pluto, when he's on that mat and you run out of treats, I want you to ask him to wait there before you go and get the other treats, if that makes sense. So I want you to just build up a little bit of time with him actually being on there. Here he comes. What we're getting him to do is realise that there's something about the mat that gets the rewards, and it's him not looking at you but sitting in position. Okay, so this time, Tom, I want you to get him to wait. So ask him to wait or stay, whichever you use.
Wait.
And then take a step back. And when he's, oh, walk forwards again. Okay, so this time you're going to move 1 foot back. So ask him to wait. 1 foot back, that's it. And then come back into him and reward him.
Roland's getting quite.
Okay, do you want to swap dogs?
Yeah. So I'm quite a lot of that.
We're going to have to go probably back to the beginning-ish with Roland. So as soon as Roland goes onto the mat, yes, and then reward him. Here he comes. So he's touching the mat. And then just drop those treats onto the floor. Onto the mat, sorry, not onto the floor. Yeah, you're dropping them onto the mat. And now just wait for him to sit down. When he sits and breaks eye contact, that's when you're going to say yes and then reward him. Who's that? Is he frustrated because he's trying to get to you?
He's not breaking eye contact. I'm not looking directly at him, but I can see him.
Okay, so you can just say yes and don't give him a treat. And then when he breaks the eye contact, yes, and then drop a treat. Really nice.
Can't find it.
That's okay, you will do. Wait for him to sit. So you've indicated that he's doing the right thing. Okay, see if he comes back and sits on it. Let's see what he does. You might need to just guide him onto it. Nice. Okay, so to get them off the mat, what you're going to do is you're going to throw a treat away from the mat, and when all 4 feet come off the mat, you're going to use a cue word. So off, mat, off, free, okay, whatever you want to use that indicates to him that he can get off that mat and you're asking him to. Okay, so throw the treat out, say the word, and this time when he gets back on, add a cue word to him. So settle, on your mat, in your place, whatever you guys want to use. And then you're going to reward a couple of times sitting on the mat. Settle, reward.
I'm just using the word settle now.
Yeah, that's fine. So if he's not sitting, oh, he's sitting now. There we go.
Does he need to look away from me?
Ideally, yes, but I can hear that Pluto's getting annoyed in the background. So he's fine doing what he's doing. He's learning. He's getting there, so it's fine. And then what I would do is wait till he settles down. So let him settle once more. Here he comes. And now do an off with him. So throw the treat away and then pick the mat up.
Pick the mat up?
Yep. And what we're doing there is we're just keeping the mat valuable. Pluto's like, give me the mat.
That's just a small taste of The noises that come out of his mouth. He really squeaks when he wants things.
So with the mat, so you can literally build up really nice and slowly. So it may be that, I mean, we just use like I always call it a mat. Ours is just a little fleece, tiny little fleece blanket. It's about 30 centimeters by 30 centimeters. You can use a tea towel, you can use whatever you've got. And the idea behind that is that when they get really good at it, you can just direct them as you would to their beds. Go and get in your bed, go and lay down in your bed. And with the mat, you can get them to go and do it from a distance. And you can use that also with people at your front door. So get them to settle, go to the front door, and then go back to them. But obviously there's a combination of two. I would always start with the what's this game, because that's a bit of a faster one, and they are expecting you to leave the room with them still having something to do. With the settle into a place, it may be that over time, well, it will be over time, because they're not just going to do it straight away. I use it with Chip, so I use it. She's got a mat in the shed where my gym is, and she'll be in there. She'll be doing something on her mat, so she'll have something that's longer lasting. So she'll have like this morning she had a pizzle, so she was chewing on a pizzle while I was in there. But she's also settled there as well, so she knows where she can go, where she's going to get some nice rewards. If the window cleaner comes round, then we'll get a mat out and just chuck it on the floor, because she doesn't like the window cleaner because he's in her garden. So she will bark at the window cleaner, a couple of barks, and I'll ask her to get on your mat, and she'll go and lay down on a mat. And then I'll ask her to wait while I go and get something for her to have on her mat, whether it's a Kong, whether it's a lick mat, or whether it's just a few treats dotted down there while the window cleaner is still cleaning the windows. So it's a really good is a good technique to have while distractions are going on, and you can take it out with you as well. So you can obviously change it, you can exchange it for different things, but I would, to start with, use the same thing. So I know obviously we've used a mat today, but if there is something particular that you have that you want to use when you go out, so you can use like pub benches. Have you got a pub near you? Yeah, so they may well have benches out there at the minute, have they?
Not sure.
Okay. So if they have got benches outside, then it's a good time to practice when there isn't anyone else in the pub, because then you can have them on the bench next to you. You can literally put your mat on the bench next to you, and anything that goes past that would normally make them squeal or bark or get upset. So it might be a dog, it might be a person, it might be a car. Yes, and drop them rewards. Okay, so your rewards are going to come thick and fast again, but you're making positive associations with them. So they're positively like, oh yeah, this is a great place to be. I'm nice and safe. And then you can start putting that mat onto the floor as well. Okay, but it's about, sorry.
Can you use the bench in the park, or not really?
I mean, you could do. The downside, I mean, I've seen how busy your park is. So, you could if you wanted to. It may be worth just starting somewhere a little bit quieter. It's a good one to practice it just in the garden, to be honest with you. So, because your garden's distracting, isn't it, for Roland? So maybe a good one to practice in the garden with him. And likewise, with the what's this game, it could be that you use what's this and throw them out into the garden, because then they're going to have to find them in the grass, which is going to make it more difficult for them.
We used to do that. We didn't actually. I never associated that with distracting them from what's at the door. I used to do it last summer because we're outside all the time, and I just wanted them to have some sort of mental stimulation. But the grass is a good idea.
Yeah, grass is always.
I don't know, because to be honest, I'm going to admit, we used to egg them on, and there's a bird outside saying, "What's that?" or whatever it was we used. And you open the door, and then they'd go mental. We knew that wasn't good. But the noises that come out of Roland, it was just hilarious. But I don't know if that would really work outside, if I'm honest, because I don't want to associate that tone with, I don't know, what do you think?
I think maybe settling to the mat might be a better option, so that they can learn to be calm when the back door opens. So that may be why Roland has got a little bit like, I can't concentrate in the back garden, because he's like on high alert. He's like, what's going off? Something's going off. There must be something going off. We're in the back garden together. So I think that the mat may be a better option, and you can always have their leads attached to them as well. So thinking like literally try and set it up like you're out in a coffee shop, or a pub, wherever, and actually have them in that position. Or you're having a picnic, so you'd want them at the side of you, but you're not going to want them on your picnic blanket as well. So have them on their own blanket, have their leads attached, and you can always have their leads pointing downwards. So there will be tension, but it was only the downwards tension. You're not looking to strangle them. Leads facing down, and then just hold the lead so that they can't actually move too much around, and then eventually they will just settle down on the mat. Okay, so just different techniques, but the same. It's the same, sorry, different variations of the same techniques. Okay, does that make sense? Happy with those? Yeah. So when you're out and about, when you're out walking, now you've got two fabulous dogs that are just walking as nicely as you want them to. It may be that sometimes you get rid of that watch. Okay, so we're going to make it a bit more variable. So rather than every single time, so if you know there's something that particularly sets them off, so we know that Labradors set them off, it may be that we save some of the higher rewards for when the Labradors are around. And it may be that you just say yes, good, or nice, even if they are giving you eye contact. So we're just changing it slightly so that they know exactly when they're doing the right thing. And I know that you mentioned about them going up front and kind of at the end of the leads when they're out together. And a way that you can help them understand where it is that you want them to be is when they're at the side of you. So when they are walking alongside you with that nice little smiley lead, then you can just say yes and drop a reward at that point. So when I say drop the reward, I mean give them the reward. Okay, so they learn that hanging around your feet here is a really good place to be. And then if they're starting to get to the end of the leads, so not letting them get to the end of the leads, but when they're kind of, you know when they're in front of you, then just call their names. Call them, get them to turn around with you, get them to turn around, come on this way, let's go, and just go the opposite way, just for a few steps, and then go back again. So you're walking, you might look a bit strange to your neighbours, but what you're doing is getting them back into this area around your feet, so that up front, so if they are up front on the end of the leads, often what happens is they're trying to take on everything, and actually the truth of the matter is that neither of them, I don't think, can actually cope with it being up front. So if they are further back, then they're going to be following our lead rather than them going, there's a dog that's just come round the corner and I don't know how to cope with it, and I'm just going to have a meltdown about it, because that is a little bit about what's happening. So getting them to actually come this side of you, whichever side, but at the side of you, yes, good, or nice, short and snappy as soon as they're in position. So as soon as they drop back, yes, give a reward. You carry on walking, they're walking at the side of you, yes, reward. They start going ahead of you, you call them, they turn around to you, come on this way, go the other way with them. A few steps, and then get them just aligned back to you again, and then go again. And that will help with both of them. So when they're both out together, so that you've not got one pulling and the other one chasing and pulling. And remember that the first sort of 10 minutes of your walk, expect to have kind of a less level of them actually being able to listen to you too much, because they're going to be a bit fired up to be going out, because they're going to have that energy that they're like, yeah, we're going out and it's going to be great fun. Okay, does that all make sense?
Yeah, we do notice that sometimes as well. But it's not, to be fair to them, it's more like 2 or 3 minutes usually, rather than maybe as long as 10. Because we're probably not out for more than, I don't know, 15 or 20 in total anyway. So, but they do definitely, once they're kind of settled into a pace, they do kind of maintain that the rest of the walk, even if the level of distraction keeps coming. Or something they haven't seen yet.
Yeah, or it may be that you make your walk so it's not so predictable for them. So if you normally come out of the house and turn right, then go out the house and turn left, so that you've got their focus on you from the beginning. It might be that you just do like a couple of laps on the same side of the street before you then cross the road, so that element, that first element, is kind of you getting rid of that a little bit before you're then starting to actually go into your walk with them.
That's a good idea, actually. I think we should do that, because we've just been so excited about getting them into the park to go walk around there. But yeah, so I think this morning when they saw this dog Bentley that they don't like, that was on like just at the end of our road as we were going into the park. So I kind of get the impression from them, they're a bit like, this is the start of a walk, and suddenly this dog's in my face, getting in my way, haven't even got into the park yet. So if we went out and started with something else before getting to that bit, and also the good thing is it's got 3 or 4 different entrances to the park from our side as well, so we can walk up the street a bit and then just cut into it at a slightly different point. So use that for coming out, but we should also use it for starting off rather than making it exactly the same, turning right out the house, a couple of 100 meters, going into the park that way.
Yeah. And that will help them to focus on you as well. So also, because they met Bentley at the end of the road this morning, it may be that the next time they go out on a walk, they're expecting to meet Bentley as well. So every time they get to that point, they'll be like, oh yeah, this is where we started to bark last time, or maybe we'll just start barking just in case he is there. So it's always worth like varying stuff up for them.
Yeah. So just to confirm, we're using the word watch less and just using other words.
Yeah, so you're looking for the short, snappy words. So you're looking for yes, good, nice. So marking words. So you're looking to mark when they're doing exactly the right thing, and you can give them a reward if you want to. You don't have to give them a reward. I would still continue doing the watch training that you are doing, but you're probably just going to drift that off a little bit so that it's a bit more natural for you. So when you walk in, you don't.
We are starting to do that anyway, slightly.
Using the watch, I don't know, every 4 meters, but then using positive words like yes,
and not necessarily treating every time you watch on.
Yeah, that's good. So having that, I know that you just did it there. You just went, yes, it has got to be short and snappy. So in that moment, so think of, I don't know if you've ever used a clicker before. No, a clicker makes a sound. It literally goes click. That is it. Okay, so yes, good, nice. So just one syllable, because otherwise they don't often, if they're at the side of you and you go, yeah, what happens is they end up right in front of you before they've actually then got the treat, and they're like, oh, it's me being up ahead of you that got me the treat rather than where they were that you wanted them to have the treat. So it is very short and snappy. Yes, good, nice. And what you will find is that they will start responding to that as well. So you'll say yes, they'll look at you, you'll say yes, they'll sit down, whatever it is that you're trying to get them to do. Okay, so it's just having a different form of communication. So obviously the reason we taught the watch is so that they can give you that eye contact and you put a word to it. So there are going to be times that you are going to be using watch, but what we don't want to do is massively overuse it either. Yeah, does that make sense? Happy with what you're doing? Yeah, okay. So what else did I write down here? So the door safety, so you've got a couple of things to play there. Have you done any collar holds with them in the new collars?
No, we haven't.
No, we discussed it. It was one of the things I wanted to ask you, because we do want to take them eventually to other places to walk like we used to.
Yeah.
We've not done it yet. What should we do?
What do you mean?
So we've got their new collars, and we want to put them in the car in their seat thing that we've got, carrier. But obviously we don't want to drive anywhere to take them because they're not ready for that. Because the places we do take them, they're far too distracting for them.
Okay.
We want them to be calm when they're in the car seat. So how do we practice that?
Okay, calm in the car. So really nice and easy. So wait until after you've been on your walk until they've calmed down a little bit. So if we're trying to get them in a car and they're full of beans and they're super excited, then we're going to struggle to have them relaxing in the car. The car seat that they've got, can they see out the windows?
I think so.
If they go on the hind legs and go on like that, which I'm in the back trying to discourage them from doing that.
Yeah. Okay. So what we're going to do is just practice. So it's desensitization to the car, and it is really as simple as getting them ready, getting the car keys, putting your coat on, putting your shoes on, whatever your normal thing is to get you to your car, unlock the car. And do they jump in the car or do you pick them up?
Pick them up.
You pick them up. Okay, so pick them up, put them in the car. Any signs of them being calm, yes, and reward. If they're getting super excited, then they get back out the car again. Okay, so it's a little bit like when you're walking and they go up front and you call them and come back with them. So what you're doing is you're not allowing them to get up into that worked up state, and you're going to take them back out the car again. Come on then, out you get, in you get, out you get, and you're literally going to repeat getting in and out of the car so that they can be calm and relaxed in the car. It may be that you just ask them to wait. So wait, you've not even started the engine at this point. You've not even, closed their door. You're just literally getting them in and out, in and out, in and out, so that they start to go, oh, right, okay, so if I'm calm, I get a treat. If I'm not calm, I get taken out of the car again. Yeah, so really nice slow steps. And then once they are calm, and I know you normally sit in the back with them, but you're going to, do you drive normally? Do you like, can you drive? Okay, so, but do you like, can you drive? Can you drive? Yeah. Okay, so what I would then get you to do is, so you're just going to do this, I would look to do this one at a time rather than having both of you there to start with. And I would get in the driver's seat and then just shut the door of the driver's seat. If they get ridiculously crazy, open the driver's seat and get them back out again. Okay, so you're saying to them, that's not what we want you to do. We don't want you to behave in this way. And any of that kind of squealy, crazy behavior gets you taken back out of the car. It doesn't get them what they want to, which is to go to that big crazy park. And we're really just making the car a boring place, but they can have treats if they're calm. Yeah, rather than this kind of frantic driving.
Roland wasn't always as calm. Pluto was the one that was mental.
I wonder if actually just being in the collar might change how
It may well do. And I was going to say, oh, sorry.
I was just going to say the reason I sat in the back with them was because Pluto would get that excited. He would jump out of the bed and get himself into a pickle with the harness on him and be stuck and dangling sort of out of the bed, out of the carrier. So I was just in there just for safety reasons, really.
Yeah, so we do need to be mindful of how they're actually traveling. So I know you've obviously got your new collars, but how are you looking to attach them? Are you looking to attach the collars into a car seat, or what are they going to be connected to?
It's got like just like a short length of lead sort of with a clip on the end. That's kind of like a seatbelt that's attached to the back of the dog bed. And then for the other one, we used to just wrap one of the leads around the headdress and kind of get it to come out at the same point, the same length. So they kind of just have an attachment point each.
Okay.
But yeah, with the harness, because it was fixed to that part of the body, occasionally either of them could kind of get themselves a bit twisted in that length of lead that was available. But with a collar, because it can rotate around the neck, they're not going to be able to wrap the lead around the neck.
But we do need to be careful that if they're on a collar in the car, if anything does happen to your car, if your car ends up on its side or upside down, they're attached on a collar, not on a harness. So we need to be really mindful of that. So we need to be thinking of, can they have those harnesses but just in the car, but when we make them boring and make them quiet?
Yeah, so that's something to try as well. Maybe we could try putting the harness on and that actually being attached, but still with the collar on as well.
Yeah, keep the collar on, but put the harness on as well. But we do need to be like, for the in terms of, I know that you're in there for the safety, but ultimately if something does happen to the car seat, where are your dogs going to go? So I would start with just practicing in and out. They're not going to be attached to anything anyway, so the likelihood is they're not going to have the harnesses on at that point. And what I would look to do with, because their harness, they're just going nuts in the background, they're like, woo! Because they're because you're not looking to walk them in the harnesses, I would just loosen the harnesses off a little bit so that they're not tight onto them, so that you can literally, I don't mean that they can just climb out of them, but so that they're a little bit looser, so that there's not that same feeling of tightness on them. They're literally just going nuts.
It's all the time.
You've been feeding them carrots again.
They just have like an hour.
Okay, so I can send you, I've got a like a breakdown which I use for dogs that are sick in cars, as in, because the general reason that dogs are sick in cars is because they're overexcited or the positioning. And also what I was going to say is like the car seat that they've got, can that be moved? Can that be moved to like the other side of the car?
Yeah.
So it may be that you just move it to the other side of the car to start with, so that they've got like a whole fresh new, it's a completely different thing for them to be getting into. The window's on the other side and they've got no association with it. So they've got nothing to compare it to, even though obviously getting into the car is going to be the same. Changing that car seat over may give you a different experience to start with. Yeah?
Yeah, I was going to ask, we found what we think is the most suitable thing for 2 dogs to travel in. But do you know of anything that is better or more suitable? We basically got a large dog bed for a car. You hook, there's like a handle on it, you hook it over the front, the passenger seat, and then you hook the back of it over the seat. So it's like a hammock, but we've put like pillows in the bottom of it and a cover over it, just to make it a bit more comfortable, because it didn't have a hard floor. Otherwise it'd just be like hollow.
Okay.
We did used to have like a sturdy like box for Roland, but it's obviously too small for both of them. And this is the only thing that we can think of. But if there's another solution that you know of.
I mean, in all honesty, my dog, she just wears a harness and she's clipped in. So she's clipped into the seatbelt on the harness, and she's generally on the passenger seat, or depending if she wants to be in the footwell, then we'll put her in the footwell or on somebody's knee. Obviously with 2, it's a little bit different, but I would always be looking for that harness and clipped in, so they are attached into something. I mean, what we need to remember is they don't need to be looking out of a window, so they don't need to look out. Obviously, if they were car sick, then I would say like let them have that access. It's a bit like humans when we travel. Sometimes they can actually be car sick, but sometimes it's actually the stress of being in a car that makes them sick. So I would. Have you seen the Solvit car seats? They're called Solvit, Solvit. They do like various different ones, and they're almost like not like a child's car seat. They're more like a sturdy box one. The seatbelt kind of goes round, and you can plug them into those as well. And I'm quite sure that they do like a dual one that both dogs can get into. I wouldn't necessarily be overly concerned if they were in like one. It wouldn't necessarily concern me if they were in one box, as long as they've got the kind of enough room to sit down.
Yeah, that was the problem. Like when we just had Roland, that box was perfect because it was big enough to sit in there, to lie in there, and then obviously when Pluto got bigger, he could both be in there. It's almost like too much movement. Pluto just, it might be different now, but he just get it too much. It's all a bit exciting for him, but we'll give it a go and then we'll feed it back to you.
Yeah, give me a shout how it goes. It's a bit of a trial and error, but ultimately, if we're doing the same process kind of for most things, then they should be picking up when they're doing the right thing and when they're doing stuff that you don't want them to do. I'll send you over. I've got like steps for the car, and steps for the settling to the mat. Now it is. I mean, I use it for lots of different things, but it is used quite a lot for separation cases as well. So if I've got a dog that's got separation, and it just helps, I've got like, I think it's 20, 24, 25 steps. Now you don't have to do them every single time, but actually building up really slowly, it shows you how to build up slowly. So you can get to that point of leaving them on the mat, walking out of the room, coming back again, which is what you want them to be doing. So it may be that you ask them to wait, walk, and then come back again. Similar to what we did with Tom with Pluto. I got him to take half a step back because the full step was too much. And what we're looking to do is just create a distraction for our dogs while they're on the mat. So it's not really any different to the car seat, if that makes sense, because you're still doing that. It's about that repetition that goes with it. Okay. Any last questions before I go? Had a good session? Yeah, good stuff. Keep up with your videos. Let me know what's happening. And I'll speak to you. I reckon probably a couple of weeks' time again. Is that working for you guys?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I think it's a nice amount of time, because I think you've got your stuff to practice, and then you can kind of build on that practicing as well. Yeah. Okay, dokes. I'll get the recording over to you, and I'll get the rest of the stuff over to you as well. It'll probably be tomorrow morning now. Okay. No worries, not a problem. You take care. Speak soon. Bye.